Good evening. I'm speaking to you from the city of New Orleans, nearly empty, still partly underwater, and waiting for life and hope to return. Eastward from Lake Pontchartrain, across the Mississippi coast, to Alabama and into Florida, millions of lives were changed in a day by a cruel and wasteful storm. In the aftermath, we have seen fellow citizens left stunned and uprooted, searching for loved ones and grieving for the dead, and looking for meaning in a tragedy that seems so blind and random. We've also witnessed the kind of desperation no citizen of this great and generous nation should ever have to know. Fellow Americans calling out for food and water. Vulnerable people left at the mercy of criminals who had no mercy. And the bodies of the dead lying uncovered and untended in the street.
It started as any other day. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was. You never know what can happen. Unforgettable. There was heavy rain to the point where you couldn't even see.
All you could hear stuff around you being smashed and crashed. Huge things that you would think would never move, and they were being thrown around like it was a toy. It was devastating. The power of the water, it'll eat you up in a second.
The most frightening moment would be the concern that you have for your children, making sure that they were okay.
We didn't know what to do. It was terrifying.
We were actually without power for 4 weeks. It was the whole town of Scotch Plains without power. It became too cold where we couldn't even stay in the house.
We were freezing cold, and we would sleep in the car.
With the heat on, shut it off once the car got warm enough. That's how we were able to fall asleep.
You couldn't really ignore what was going on around you. You really just see how much everyone cared for each other in this community.
The dangers of Mother Nature, you don't know where it's going to hit or how it's going to hit.
So you just have to prepare yourself mentally. Being that you don't know the outcome, you could be prepared for whatever does happen.
We had an EF5 tornado, as devastating as they come.
You can't go back to who you were when you experienced such a trauma. It changes you fundamentally as a person. Because I'd never seen a tornado, it never occurred to me that this big, massive thing with no definitive boundaries was a tornado. And so we ran down into the shelter and locked it. We had not even been down there a minute. You could hear people screaming. It just sounds like this really loud train coming through.
We had a damaged path that was a half-mile wide, and within that half-mile, it was total destruction. There was very little left.
With an autistic child, the most we can do is prepare the best we can, educate ourselves, and have faith. The worst part for us was that my daughter's asthmatic, and in all the panic, she was having a really bad asthma attack. I didn't have any way to get my daughter a breathing treatment. You think, I'll pack a bag and keep it by the door. It never occurs to you you're not gonna have that 5 to 10 minutes to go grab the bag. We were left with 3 cans of green beans, 2 diapers, and a bottle of water about like this.
People sometimes don't take action because they have decided that it's not going to happen to me. People in our city have learned that it does happen, and it can happen to us. When people receive warning, they need to take action.
I was looking at that cloud of smoke, and I said, that's almost right where my house is at. I called my mom, and they got a reverse 911 call, and they said, you have 2 minutes to evacuate from your home. My dad said that when he was grabbing the last couple of things, he could see the fire reaching the back fence of our house.
For the public, it is chaos. They're trying to evacuate. They're trying to think about the things that they had never considered before. What do I want to take out of my home if I only have a few minutes? Where are my children? How am I going to communicate to my wife or husband who's at work? All the things that you should be prepared for prior to an emergency, they're now trying to make a decision in a split second.
I was just picturing that my dad would arrive with all sorts of crazy tables and weird things sticking out of the back of the truck, and when they pulled up, I looked in the back and I just saw a couple boxes and our 2 dogs. Everything was gone.
When a fire destroys a home, it's a significant emotional event. Their entire life may be down to one piece of memory that they're able to sift through the rubble. When you call 911, we are there to provide you care, but what we need you to do is to be able to help yourself. Sit down with your family over dinner. Talk about what you would do in an emergency. Have an evacuation plan. If you're trying to prepare while the emergency is going on, you're too late.
I'm gonna die. The water is steady rising in the attic, ma'am. And I'm gonna drown in the attic. I'm inside the location with you.
I'm in here. I got a handicapped girl, and I got a baby that's on a pump machine. And we in the bed. He's on a ventilator.